So today we're going to be looking into the psychology of people, how to look at them, decide what they are, if they're a threat, categorize them, if they're a potential ally, a potential even a spiritual sibling, or perhaps even a life partner. So, and I should say V-spell. I should start using my own language. V-spell is a value, interest, equal life partner for all of life. So it's like, there's terms like spouse, which has a bit of a legal implication, and frankly it's been tarnished. Some of these words, even words like love, they've been watered down. And so part of the analysis of people and categorization is about how you label people. And as an adult, I'm going to start off with this. As an adult, you shouldn't be labeling anyone your higher authority. Even yourself, you should be thinking of yourself as God, and you are the authority over your own life, and you choose to worship, like I choose to worship Goddess V, which is actually a physical thing, which is vulva, and so, but we need to be able to look at people and assess them. Like if someone's labeling somebody their higher authority, it means that they're going to be submissive in some way. Even if this only plays out to a partial degree, it's all right. We're in the fast lane, ladies and gents. We're rolling. So even if it only plays out to a partial, like the person's somewhat submissive because they label someone as a father and mother and so on. And I'll challenge you this: as a man or woman, why would you want to be someone's father? Why would you want to refer to someone as your son? Like, that's going to make them more submissive. It's better that they be an equal and be able to serve you and do not be so emotionally or financially dependent on you. It's an unhealthy transactional entanglement in which the people are together because they need each other, but they should be together because they like each other's shared values. So like that's you see that format revealed in like Islam or maybe certain religions, where they label each other, hey, brother or sister Mary, that type of thing. And so identifying people, right? So that's the first thing. Do they label themselves their final authority? Like, are they going to or I mean, people will also say things like, as long as God wants, as long as it's in God's will, then it'll happen. Or as long as God, something like that, right? Like, God is the leader of my life. it's a deference of responsibility. It's saying that they're not taking executive power over their decision-making process, right? So I'm inviting you to be aware of that, and especially be aware of people who are calling other people their authority. So what's the transitionary step? Well, first you got to make sure you're on solid ground. You got to make sure that you can afford to live somewhere on your own, and then you can say to somebody, well, you know, I don't want to label you my authority. I want to be equals. Or maybe even not even, I want to disconnect from them. Maybe only be friends. Like, just like you're friends with people in high school. Maybe only be friends with your biological relatives. If you don't have that much in common, but you still like each other, just, you know, you're still respectful and helpful to each other in ways. So you label the people on their first name. So instead of father and mother, you use the words John and Mary, and so on. And people who aren't even willing to experiment with that, I'm going to be suspect of them, because they're not even willing to challenge what they're doing. They're not even willing to question it. Okay, so that's a major one, major step. Or people who use terms like, oh yeah, it's my boss, blah, blah, blah. Like, say you work with people, not for them. Say that you hired, you know, even though it's not this way in the technical legal sense, you can still say that you hired someone. You can say you hired someone in the in the sense of, like, oh, I hired this person to be my manager. Part of it is knowing what a good manager is and whatnot. Or I hired this person to be my doctor. The problem is when people use a more broad term. Like, it's one thing, it's specialist. Like, oh, this person's my, you know, my head specialist, or my physical therapist, body specialist, right? But to say someone's your, like, general practitioner, you've got to be really careful with that. Like, you should be able to do your own research and at least have a general concept of what's your body needs and what you should do to maximize its potential. All right, so moving on, right? So that's one way that you can go about. One way to go about what are we going about? We're going about analyzing people. So that's what we're doing. We're analyzing. All right? Another way to analyze somebody is to assess whether or not they're more globally minded or more locally minded. In other words, if they're more tribal or they're more unity consciousness based upon merits and what you do, not because of the color of your skin or your family name or history or your title or stuff like that. So you have the globally, on one extreme you have the local, let's start with the locally minded person who's often less healthy, less concerned about global politics, more entitled, like thinking that they are tribal and they all they need to do is share with their specific family or community, and they don't need to work on improving the world. And these obviously benefits, these are going to be your worker bees. These are going to be your worker bees, your people who want a quote-unquote normal, conventional life, and they rather enjoy life than try to improve it. So they go with the flow. And then you have then you have your globally minded people, the citizens, global citizens, people who are talk about world peace. They talk about new inventions, new ideas. They're more health minded. They're trying to live as long as possible. They're less likely to be well, they can be religious, but the religion has to include the concept of charity. And these are two extremes, things, but you can incorporate some good things of both and then let go of the bad things. Like, there are good things about more identifying with local, is you're perhaps considerate about the cultures of wherever you are. Like, it's like, for example, if you live in Hawaii, even if you're not Hawaiian by ethnicity, have some consideration and understanding and appreciation of the Hawaiian culture's traditions, like music and dance and art. And so this is the people that look at the world, and they are more into traveling and learning about what other people are doing in the world. Now they may very well be less, they're more artistic and creative, and so they may not devote as much time to properly saving and earning a living. And so, yeah, obviously there's benefits and disadvantages to both extremes, but we can be conscious of that, and we can work on it. All right, and then so moving forward, what else do we have out there? We have like what we identify people is what I'm trying to say. You can look at their, like, especially when looking at the opposite gender, like a person may have some attractive features like a facial symmetry attraction, but if you look at them closely, you can see how healthy they are. You know, you can look at their face and see if they're vegan, if they have like extra fat on the face. You can look at their posture. Another thing is to categorize people quickly. You should determine if they're marriage oriented or not, because if they're not, what ends up happening is they can't be trusted as much to be around your daughters and sisters, and for that matter your brothers and your who else? Your sons. Now when I say sons, I'm talking about people, it's maybe 21 and younger. Like, I think it's like, when do people become an adult? Maybe 25. So maybe any time before that, people should have label someone as an authority. But as an adult, like, it's really not appropriate to label somebody like your father or grandfather or aunt or anything, even older sister, unless, you know, no, there's no reason to do it. Yeah, there's no justification for doing that. So that ends up being another thing that we can look at somebody and see who they are. You know, who is a person? Are they actively interested in marriage? You know, a lot of people say they're religious, but they still engage in premarital intimacy, suggesting that hedonism, sexual gratification is more important than what? Than marriage. So it's suggesting sex is more important than marriage. And another thing is, is whether a person wants to be loving or not. Some people are into that whole fear and aggression thing of like wanting to dominate, be an authority. All right, I'm gonna wrap it up there, guys. But I feel like I loaded on a lot of stuff there. I feel that was a good one. So let's talk more. Feeling it. Much alohas, and yeah, let's talk soon, you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Do wanna know some of your opinions and everything. Let's try and figure all that out. Yeah. Aloha for now. Leave a comment. Let me know what you're thinking.